Hey y'all, it's Stephen Van Kampen-Lewis, and today I want to talk a little bit about Cattleya seedlings and how to grow them. Specifically, what is different about growing adult Cattleyas and very small Cattleyas. I'll go through some of the things that they have in common, and then of course I'll talk about uh, what are the differences towards the end. And really, to summarize everything, the conditions that they need are essentially the same, which makes sense. When these things are growing out in the wild, you're not going to have sort of a condition that's different than the adults on the same tree, right? So you're not going to have a tree just for seedlings, and then those seedlings are transferred to another tree. Instead, you're going to have them growing side by side on the same tree under the same conditions. That said, the seedlings in the wild will have a very, very high mortality rate because conditions are harsh. So cultural conditions needed for both adults and seedlings are the same, but in captivity, we can increase the sort of survival chances significantly by doing a few things and observing a few things and understanding a few things about the differences between adults and seedlings. Anyway, let's turn the camera around right now and take a look at some seedlings that are over here, and I'll talk about the conditions they need and where people tend to go wrong with their Cattleya seedlings. All right, so what I have here are some relatively newly deflasked Cattleya violacea seedlings. I've got an older seedling that's also very young, and then what is essentially a near bloom seedling, or even maybe considered a mature, almost mature plant. But let's take a look at each and discuss them briefly. So these were deflasked in March, I guess, and it is now the end of July. So these have been out of flask for less than 6 months, and you can see that there's sort of a wide variety of success, with the poorest success being here. While technically still alive, it doesn't look good. And then this one here is looking great. This one here is looking amazing. Most of them are doing well. This one here is okay, and these ones here, but these are clones. So this is the same plant. However, we do have varying degrees of success, and it's primarily probably the size of the plants that came out of the flask, although most of them were a really good size. The smaller ones are probably the ones that are not doing quite as well. So, when you're deflasking, you're going to want to really see if you can wait until these are as large as possible before doing so. Because the larger the plant coming out of the flask, the higher degree you have of success. Larger plants coming out of flasks are easier to deal with, and therefore will survive typically longer, especially in an average person's collection. I think most of the people watching this are just regular collectors and not growing in a massive greenhouse with a commercial operation, right? So that's important. The next one that I have is a nobilior. This is actually from Ben's breeding. They're at Orchid Eros, and I would guess that this one is probably a year out of flask and is doing well. So I actually have this one growing inside, although I am moving it outside this today. Actually, just I think the extra heat and dryness of the Texas summer will do this one well. But you can see that it's doing well. It's got good roots. It's green. It's putting out new growths. I don't know if you can see. There's a new, looks like a root tip growing there, and then these other roots. And this thing should be putting out at least another growth this season. Hopefully two, but we'll see. And then this last one here is Cattleya Hardyana, which is FMB there, as you can see on the tag, is one of the parents. And there are just so many roots on this thing that I'm not going to have any success pulling this out of the pot. So this is what you want your near blooming seedlings to look like. I say it's near blooming, so I can't really zoom in or anything because one hand is holding the plant and the other is holding the camera, but you can see that there's sort of a little fake sheath there on this growth from last year, and that's actually pretty common, where you'll get a sheath and it may or may not bloom. And you can see 3 new growths are coming out here, and I suspect next summer or late spring, early summer, hopefully I'll have 3 spikes on this one. So this one's kind of an overachiever, but ultimately is the kind of thing that you want to see on your Cattleya seedlings, right? Is success. So I mentioned earlier that the conditions needed for adults and for seedling Cattleyas are the same, and that's true. They need bright light. So you can see my shade house right there is where I'm growing almost all of my Cattleyas, and they get 50% shade cloth. It's kind of early in the morning. That's why the shadows are long right now and the sun is right in my face. But they need bright light. So either you're growing under lights and you're keeping them very bright, or you're growing outside in very bright conditions. Next, they mostly want a fairly pronounced wet-dry cycle. They don't have to get completely dry between waterings, but it can help to get to approach dryness, is what I always like to say. So the violacea seedlings are a little different. They are from the Amazon, so they're going to want a little more moisture at the roots, but they still want to dry off generally. And so that can be achieved with the sphagnum here and a significant air pocket at the bottom. Nobilior wants a much more pronounced wet-dry cycle. And then most Cattleyas, like this Hardyana here, are going to want a significant wet-dry cycle as well between waterings. So for my indoor plants, which is how I'm growing this one in an orchid cabinet, it gets water 2 to 3 times a week. My plants outside in the heat will get hit with water just about every day, the ones in small pots. And then these ones are being watered at the same frequency, about 2 times or so, or maybe 3 times a week. And this moss does get a little bit crispy, but not super crispy in that period. Fertilizing is the same. I fertilize at every single watering, no matter where they are, inside or outside. And that's at about a 50 to 75 parts per million nitrogen. And if you're like me and you don't really want to do the math, it's basically a little less than a quarter strength at each watering. So weekly, but more diluted, right? The pests and diseases for each are going to be the same. So my Hardyana is fairly pest-free, but the nobiliors inside are prone to bosvoidal scale and sometimes mealies also. And so far my violaceas inside have not shown any sort of pest proclivity, I guess you could say. Temperatures, I like to keep them in the 90s or higher during the day when I can. My plants inside are probably going to be 85 to 90 degrees. The ones in that I've kept in my rupiculus Cattleya cabinet, there's 2 lights in there, so it actually gets up to 90. And then, of course, all of my plants outside are going through the Texas heat, which is in the 90s to 100s every single day. And they love it. They grow like wildfire in it. So if you have a quote-unquote heat wave in your part of the world and things are getting hot and it's somewhere less than 105, I wouldn't worry too much about it. So if adults and seedlings essentially need the same conditions, why do so many people have trouble growing the seedlings? Well, there's a couple of reasons. I would say that the first reason is that seedlings have smaller root systems and smaller pseudobulbs, and therefore are less able to bounce back from poor cultural conditions. So if you go on vacation, let's say, and your adult Cattleyas don't get water for a couple of weeks, they're fine, but that could be a death sentence for your seedlings. Additionally, the lack of pseudobulbs and the smaller root systems on the seedlings just generally mean that they're more susceptible to dying, essentially, or being really severely set back if poor cultural conditions happen. The other thing is that a lot of the time, or at least some of the time, if you have, let's say, 1 cultural or 2 cultural conditions that are off, you can grow adult Cattleyas because they can sort of overcome that. They're big enough to deal with, let's say, a little bit too little light, or not enough water or too much water, they're able to sort of shake that off because they can put out a new root system every so often. They have those reserves to overcome any cultural deficiencies, but the seedlings don't have that ability. Therefore, a lot of people have the ability to grow adult Cattleyas, but not the seedlings because there is that cultural deficiency. So if that's the case for you, you got to figure out what that is. What is it that is not good for the adults, but they can overcome, but that the seedlings cannot? So once you're able to find that tweak and hone in on the condition deficiency and fix it, then not only can you grow seedlings, but your adult Cattleyas will probably do a lot better also. So figuring that out is really important just to your overall cultural conditions. So maybe it's you're growing inside and it's too cool. Maybe you're not watering enough. Maybe there's not enough light and not enough light is not only a deficiency for blooming, but it slows down the growth because these Cattleyas and all plants really are using that light to create food for themselves, specifically sugars, to convert carbon dioxide and water into sugar chains that they can use to grow. If there's not enough light to facilitate that chemical reaction, bad things happen. No blooms or fewer blooms, plants dying at worst, plants just not growing well. So got to figure out what it is that's going on wrong and then fix that for your seedlings. And then suddenly you can grow tons of seedlings and they can look like this, or well, I've got mostly Cattleyas behind me, but you get what I'm saying. So if you have trouble with seedlings but not adult Cattleyas, figure out what that cultural deficiency is, fix it, and then you can start increasing your collection with less expensive plants, aka seedlings, and really expanding your collection. Then you can become one of those really excellent growers that's constantly putting out amazing blooms, wowing your local society, posting online, or just so that you can enjoy your own collection at home. I hope that's helpful. Let me know if there's something I missed in the comments, and I'll talk to you later.